Welcome to the introduction video for the AI Coding Assistant IntelliJ plugin. It provides a variety of features for working with code using OpenAI models. First, some introductions. I am Andrew Charneski, a professional software engineer. I work mainly with Java and open source software. I publish a variety of AI research and hobby work through an organization called Simia Cryptus Software. Special thanks and credit go out to OpenAI, who developed the AI technology that we're going to be using today. Most recently, they've been famous for ChatGPT, which is very closely related to the other GPT-3 models that we will be using. We will mainly use the Davinci-series models, which are available via the API and on the Developer Playground, which we'll visit in a moment. The plugin that we will be discussing today is designed for Jetbrains IntelliJ IDEA, which is a development environment that can work with a variety of computer languages. Finally, what this product is not. It is not an OpenAI quote-unquote product. They have a specific rule set and approval process for products, and they expect them to commercially encapsulate this API. So you'd be selling your product as a service, and you would be collecting membership fees, and then you would be paying for the OpenAI access. This isn't such a product and couldn't be, since it is an open source tool that helps developers use the OpenAI API. That means that to use this plugin, you need an account with OpenAI themselves. If you are looking for a consumer-facing AI plugin, there are a variety of existing solutions from, for example, GitHub and Amazon. This, in contrast, is intended to be an open box, open source, innovation and research-friendly option for users that want advanced features and want to be able to get their hands dirty. So without further ado, let's start playing with the OpenAI Playground. Once you sign up for beta.openai.com, or if you already have access, you're probably familiar with it, you can navigate to their playground here. It is essentially a web interface for the OpenAI GPT models, and their most capable model set is the Davinci-series. Here we're going to be using the default model, text Davinci-003. So we're just going to do a test request here. With this model, you can get a text completion for basically anything that you type. For example, if we say once upon a time, and then we submit, actually we're going to turn off this stuff. We can get a text completion. And it starts writing a story. There are lots of other videos that discuss this, and it's not really the focus here. But this is what we're basing the technology off of, this text completion and prompt. Anything you can access through the plugin that will demonstrate, you actually could have gotten by cutting and texting paste to this playground. So now let's go to IntelliJ and start looking at the playground. Actually, before we go to the playground, we need to grab our OpenAI API key. We do this by going to our account and view API keys. Yes, of course, we'll leave that. And you may have secret keys already, but if you're new to this service, you'll need to create a new secret key. Now, you definitely need to copy this and save it in a secure place, because as it says, their interface isn't going to give you this key again. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to need it in a second. First, we will demonstrate some generic actions that are available even without any recognized language. Here in IntelliJ, we have a text file open. And as you can see, we have a context menu here for AI Coder. Here you can find all of the actions that are provided by AI Coder, and this context menu is available in any editor window in IntelliJ. So even without a particular language recognized, we can use this just like the OpenAI Playground. We type something like once upon a time, and we can select it and say append text. And since this is our first time using this plugin, we need tell it the OpenAI API key. Since we copied it from the account page, we have it, and there we go. And just like last time, it writes us a nice little story. We can also insert text, which is a little different from append text. If we don't like a phrase, for example, we can remove it and select append insert text. And that uses both the text preceding and following the cursor to try to match generated text. So if we do that, now it did end in a period somewhere. Oddly, it duplicated the period. It's not supposed to do that. That I think is a bug, but anyway. And it's notable here is it's not guaranteed to actually, it's not guaranteed to actually stop, with a phrase. It might be much more verbose. But anyway, that's a characteristic of OpenAI. A feature of this plugin is if we don't like a given completion, we need to undo that correction we did. We can redo the last inserts, and it will essentially replay the request we did and give us an alternative. Interesting. And that redo function is available for any action that you take that modifies text. Of course, the real power of this plugin comes with using it with actual computer code. To start, let's demonstrate its ability to implement English language tasks in Bash with this testing script. First, we're going to generate some example tasks using OpenAI. We will use the append text function, which is a generic function. It's not yet aware of the Bash context. However, it will see the indicators for the commenting and listing syntax and respond to them. And so here we go, some ideas for the scripts. This sounds interesting. Let's see how it implements this line by going to Insert Implementation. Without anything selected, it will assume that that entire line is the functional specification to be implemented. And there we go, a bit of a script appended. So here's an active bug that the user should be aware of. There's often /new lines often get replaced with just backslashes, and that often messes up the syntax. It's easy to spot, easy to fix, and it should be fixed in a future version. But this plugin, I love this plugin in Bash in particular because the syntax and toolset in Bash can be a bit archaic. So this plugin really shines. But of course, it can work with any language. For example, in this Kotlin worksheet, we have another task, and let's implement this one using the same tool. Insert implementation. And this is why I think this tool works really well with structured and strongly typed languages such as Kotlin and Java, because you have a type system and better checking and honestly better tooling to fix everything. And there we go. Of course, our Bash and Kotlin worksheets were pretty simple with relatively simple directives. In a more structured application, such as this simple Java class, we have even more features. We can easily generate Java documentation comments like this. But you might ask, there are existing tools to generate Java docs. Why would you use this one? The existing tools would probably be cheaper and faster. Of course, they wouldn't be able to word things quite like this, but the real power is that the Java doc was based on reading the entire function. So if we have this, where everything is very unhelpfully named, we can generate Java docs for it. And it will be just as aware of what the method is doing. Pretty cool, huh? Another useful feature is the ability to do custom edits. Now, IntelliJ already allows powerful editing, for example, renaming variables, and that should be preferred if it suits your use case because it's going to be a lot more reliable, not to mention faster and cheaper. But we can give OpenAI editing directives, and the limit is pretty much our imagination, as long as it's, it's not a god. So instruction, something IntelliJ would be hard pressed to do. Rename everything to be animals. Okay, so we have a herd, and we're getting the average of the herd, and it also corrected the name of the function. Of course, IntelliJ's formatting is always useful. And another cool thing is once you do one edit, you might want to repeat it, so it's going to be added to recent edits. Second most common animal. Another cool feature is, in addition to documentation comments, you can also add code comments. That will rewrite the code and intersperse descriptive comments where possible. Sometimes it does it at the end of the line. More commonly, it does it every other line. So redo is your friend if it does something unexpected. And that's formatted. Keep in mind, even though you may do formatting very commonly after such a call, that formatting is going to change the document, which then invalidates your ability to redo. So you're gonna, if you decide you want to redo, undo your formatting first, and then you can redo the request. Now, this OpenAI model knows pretty much all the languages since it's been trained on pretty much the entire internet. It can, of course, write HTML, so let's use it to create a web page. Here we're going to use the paste function. We're going to copy this and get the AI coder paste function. This will auto-translate. It will use OpenAI to translate from English to HTML, our request. Now, sometimes it is more forthcoming, but usually it's succinct like this, and it gives placeholders and things like that. It takes the lazy way out of answering your question. However, you can always ask it for more data. If we select this and say implement, it's not going to know what to implement. So let's copy this. description a little bit, and let's ask it to implement it. And there we go. And by doing this iteratively, with some amount of intelligence, knowing what's going on, it can definitely help with creating web pages. It can also create SVGs, or scalar vector graphics if you're not familiar. It's an XML graphics format. The output, though, can be pretty unpredictable because, well, the root cause I would explain as being that OpenAI models have no intrinsic knowledge of numbers or geometry. This was a request for a snowflake, for example. However, it has read plenty of SVGs, so it does know the syntax well, and it can produce some interesting results. So let's do the same pasting thing that we did last time. Copy this, and we're going to use AI Coder Paste, and it will attempt to generate an entire SVG document that has a clown frowny face. It regularly does this. It doesn't give you the XML namespace, and the IntelliJ editor requires it. So you normally have to make that fix manually. IntelliJ is also picky about trailing spaces. Some of this tool might be fixed in a future version, but here we go. Now that's hardly a clown frowny face, but it is a face. We can further edit it and say, this frown. Let's try redoing that. In most demonstrations, this does work better. This is kind of the opposite of cherry picking, but let's move on. We can even use this tool with OpenSCAD models. Unfortunately, I haven't been super impressed with the plugin for IntelliJ with OpenSCAD. It's got a lot of bugs updating the documents. This was previously generated, and as you can see, it's a functioning model. It doesn't describe well what was requested, but the results are interesting at least. However, if we try to replace this, let's make a house. Oops, wrong thing. Oh, it did, okay. Yeah, but as you can see, this does not update, even if we click update. Hopefully this plugin will get fixed, and this can be a much more useful tool for OpenSCAD also. I expect it would be more than useful rather than drawing stuff, but having done some OpenSCAD, some of the transformations and some of the syntax can get a little weird and hard to unwrap. So its ability to explain code, I think, would be pretty useful here. There are also a number of features for Markdown documents that I find particularly handy. One of the most common things that I was using the OpenAI Playground for was to generate top 10 lists of this or that. Basically, I was using it for idea generation. So of course I made this plugin help with that. So let's start by generating a list of ideas for our demo, essentially seeding the list. We're going to use the generic append text, which isn't aware it's a Markdown document, but of course it will understand we're making a list that is bolted like that. The Markdown or the IDE's auto formatting options continue to be useful, although they can be tricked by things like that. And now that we have a Markdown list, we can do something like this. Let's say we want to remove some of these to reflect a better idea for us. The ideas we like the most. Let's say so given a small list, we can ask it to add list items, and the new list items are going to be based on the existing list items and completed by the OpenAI. Interesting. And it also supports nested lists, such as this. For business news, some businesses pretty cool, huh? So now let's create an example data table. Of weather data. Okay, and we're going to cut and paste that using the AI coder and paste. Now this does understand it's in Markdown, so it should create a table for us. That wasn't very cool. Let's redo that. Give it another shot. There, that's better. Now that we have a Markdown table, there are a few new things we can do with this. We can add rows and columns, and we can add new columns either automatically or by specifying a column. So let's go to add new column. And let's see. Weather, humidity, temperature, region, I don't know. Oh, it must have a bug with the Celsius things. Interesting. Let's get rid of that then. I will try to make sure that I track that as a bug. I'm just guessing that's what was wrong. Now let's try the same thing. And table column, region. Let's format it. And there we go. Now when we added a column saying region, often the nature of text completion is often that it can be verbose, and that verbosity is often accepted by the text, whatever's interpreting the completion. So sometimes you get more than you asked for. We can add even more columns automatically. And this is similar logic to adding to any list. Interesting. I guess it would be a good idea to wear pants in rainy weather. And we can also add rows. Now let's explore the settings menu and some advanced options in this plugin. If you go to Tools, you'll see a settings menu, and the first thing is Style, which attempts to flavor the textual output of things like code comments and markdown text. If you want to try something random, you can use Randomize Style. And if you want to see how that style sounds, you can use Test Style. Okay, so this code is creating a list of strings. Then that's not very fun. Let's try something else. Emojis. Oh, smiley face. Awesome. Let's try that. So next we have a token counter, and this is important to keep an eye on. This allows us to track API usage. You should always keep in mind that you are paying for this service. If you want to get an idea of how expensive your bill is going to be, take a look at this counter and see how many thousands it is. We've got 6,000. And if we look at the OpenAI pricing model for Davinci, which we generally use, it's 2 pennies per thousand. So in creating this demonstration video, I've spent about 12 cents. Not real big, but it didn't take us too long to do that. This could add up, and it certainly would add up if you did it in a mass formatting operation. Like I spent $100 one time adding Java docs to a particular library I was working on. Next, we have our preferred human language. Now, this is human language as opposed to computer code. We don't mean to discriminate. Klingon would probably work here. History limit is the number of recent edits that it's going to track. We're going to enable developer tools. This does a few things. Mainly, it's going to inject a dialog for every API text completion call, so we can tweak the parameters, we can see exactly what it's requesting, and we can test out variations. We're going to set API level to log level to error. This isn't a bit of an abuse of the error log API, but it gives us another way that we can use the existing UI to easily view the request log that it's actually making to OpenAI. Temperature is essentially how random the output's going to be. It's from 0 to 1. Max tokens and max prompt are set to keep a sane bound on the API requests. Model, I recommend we stick with Davinci, but you can always experiment with others, and there are different Davincis. There's like a code Davinci. You can change this globally here, but I recommend if you're going to play with this, you first enable developer tools and play with it on a request-by-request basis, which we'll check out in a minute. Then we have our API key and the API base if you, for some reason, want to redirect the requests. So now with those options set, we're going to do something. Let's get some more ideas for lists. So we're going to insert, add list items. And see, instead of actually just doing the request right away, it gives us this dialog. And here we can tweak the request. We can give it more or less temperature. We can test the request to see what it's about to do. Let's say, what would Ada give us for a... we got to tweak the next tokens for this model. Ada is a far less capable model, by the way. And it gave us a bunch of weirdness that was largely confused on the XML envelope that we use in a request. This XML is generally used by our plugin to add metadata and intent to a completion request, and that's one of the primary reasons that Davinci models should be preferred, because they are the only ones that are intelligent enough to understand this XML envelope that we're using. So anyway, we can tweak the parameters of the request, and we can press OK, and that continues like normal. Interesting, this is reflecting the previously set emoji tone for ideas. Next, we should be seeing an error log. Oh, that's two windows. Appearance, sorry. Data bar, I believe, yes. Okay, so here is, we set the error log. This is different. So when you set the request error log, request log to error. It will add things to the internal error log UI so you can easily see what the plugin is doing. And this is an option that you can use it to log in the background, and then if it does something unexpected, you can consult this and look under the hood. That's about the completion of our plugin demo. I hope you found this interesting. If you enjoy this project, I encourage you to let me know in the comments, and of course leave an IntelliJ Marketplace review. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.